70, 80, probably 90% of Americans don't believe that transgender women, biological males, who consider themselves to be female, should be able to participate in women's sports. I mean, it's obvious why. God made men and women different, and they dominate. They run women's sports, and the American people look at that. That doesn't mean they hate transgender people. I don't hate anybody, as I've said. They just think that the cost to women's sports that we would pay to make these transgender people feel included is not worth it. They say it's not worth it. Doesn't mean they hate the transgender people. But the loon wing of the Democratic Party, they are just insistent. I have heard them argue with me that, well, if you give a biological male uh, who claims to be female certain hormones, they lose all their advantages in sport. That's nonsense. I mean, put down the ball. I can show you like a squillion studies that even after undergoing a sex change or taking all the hormones, a biological male still has a huge advantage against a woman in a sport. And indeed, the woman can get hurt badly. And American people look at that and go, this is craziness. This is nonsense. And that's hurting the Democrats.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the Michele Tafoya podcast. Today, I'm fired up. This guest is everything. But hit subscribe. You don't ever want to miss an episode, and if you hit subscribe, you never will, and it's free. Okay, this guy was born in Centerville, Mississippi. He graduated from Vanderbilt University. This is what he majored in at Vandy. Vandy's among the highest academic institutions in the land. He majored in philosophy, political science, and economics, and graduated magna cum laude. Okay, went to the University of Virginia School of Law before attending Oxford for an additional degree in law. You can imagine how the folks at Oxford got to know John Kennedy of Louisiana, who is now the senator of the great state of Louisiana. He is a man of one-liners. He's a walking one-liner. He's got a great new book out, and it is my pleasure to host him. So stay right there. Senator John Kennedy is next. Senator, you have no idea how excited I am to talk to you. I love interviewing interesting people, and damn, you're a funny one. But before I get to that, Brian Kelly, LSU, your thoughts? Mm-hmm. Is this going the way you'd like it to go down there in Louisiana?
Well, the teams LSU has lost to. I didn't go to LSU, but I used to teach at the law school.
Yeah.
I did go to Vanderbilt, so I was real. I had to be careful in the LSU Vanderbilt game. But the teams that my LSU Tigers have lost to, Michelle, that were good teams. You know, it's not like we got beat by a bunch of chuckleheads. They were good ball clubs.
Yeah.
And the SEC is very balanced this year. I can't wait for the playoffs.
You got to be very, very proud of what Vanderbilt's doing across the board athletically. It's like becoming this powerhouse, not only academically, but athletically.
Well, as you know, the name, image, and likeness program has changed the sport. The transfer portal has changed the sport. You know, you can teach it round or flat. Some argue that it's a good thing and good for the kids. Some argue that it's ruined college sports. I get a call a day from people saying, introduce a bill and fix it. And everybody's got an idea on what to do. They don't want the federal government in the middle of telling them how to conduct college football. But I love watching college football.
I do too. My husband is a massive fan. His dad was a football coach here at the University of Minnesota long ago, and he played baseball at the U. And so I've sort of been indoctrinated into Gopher world, even though I went to Cal Berkeley. But that's a whole nother story. Speaking of that, so I go to Cal Berkeley. Everyone naturally thinks I'm liberal. I'm a Democrat. I just learned, I didn't know before I started digging a little bit, that you were a Democrat. And so What happened? What changed?
Well, in Louisiana, when I was growing up, everybody was a Democrat. You could fit the Republican Party in a phone booth. Um, Everybody was a Democrat, and but we had conservative Democrats. I mean, the Blue Dog Democrat was born in Louisiana, and partisan politics, Democrat versus Republican, it really wasn't a big deal. Our state started changing somewhere around 2005, 2006, as the Democratic Party changed and the Republican Party changed, and the national politics filtered down to Louisiana. And I switched parties. I mean, I know it's a cliche, but I didn't leave the Democratic Party. They left me. I just couldn't live with some of their principles. And at the time, I was the state treasurer. And when I needed to have a bill passed, none of my Democratic colleagues would help me. They didn't like me, and I had to go to Republicans to get my bill introduced. So I finally realized it was time for me to make a change.
This, you said it sounds cliche. I think it's because a lot of people continue to say it. I mean, ever since Reagan said it many, many moons ago, people have been saying, I didn't leave the party left me. What is going on? Because I still don't see the Democrats moderating at all. They seem to be just moving further to the left.
Well, here's what I think is going on. I mean, every party goes through changes, and every party has factions. The Republican Party does, the Libertarian Party does. The Democratic Party is controlled by one of its factions. I call it the loon wing of the party. Some call it the Bolshevik wing. Some call it the socialist wing. But let's call it the socialist wing. There's no question that the socialist wing of the party is in control. I mean, they're about to elect a socialist mayor of New York. New York City, the greatest city in the world, is the home of American capitalism, and they're about to elect a socialist mayor, which I find extraordinary. And that's the reason we're in a shutdown. The socialist wing of the Democratic Party is demanding that all of our Democrats in the Senate shut government down. Doesn't really matter why; they're just angry. And many of my Democratic colleagues know better, but they're scared of the loon wing of their party, and that's really what's going on.
I would love to get a little more behind the curtain look at what it's like for you to talk to the people on the other side of the aisle. What are those conversations really like? Because from the outside, everything that we see is just vitriol and negativity and almost to the point of hatred. It's a lot of hyperbole. What is it? What are conversations really like?
Well, there are two types of conversations. There's a conversation with my Democratic colleagues in the Senate. I don't hate anybody. I know all 99 of my colleagues. I don't hate anybody. I look for grace wherever I can find it. Um, I get along with all of my colleagues. I would say that the colleague the furthest to the left in the Senate is probably Senator Bernie Sanders, and I get along with Bernie great. We just don't agree, but there's no question that his wing of the party, the socialist wing of the party, is in control of the Democratic Party, and it's hurting the Democratic Party. Members of the loon wing of the party, um, they hate George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson and Dr. Zeus and Mr. Potato Head because they think they're all racists. They think our children should be able to change genders at recess. Um, they think cops are a bigger problem than criminals. Most Americans don't believe that, Michelle. Most Democrats don't believe that, but the loan wing does.
Well,
And
how did
right
the
now,
loon ring get so
I,
powerful?
I don't know, but they are organized. You saw them this weekend. They brought out all kind of folks on the No King's Day or whatever it was rally. They're organized on social media. Whenever some of my Senate colleagues get out of line, they just beat them into a pulp on social media. It's not going to change until my more reasonable Democratic colleagues, frankly, go to Amazon and buy a spine online and say we've had enough.
Yeah.
Uh, and you know, it is what it is. I believe in the two-party system. I think competition makes all of us better. I don't want to see the Democratic Party hurt. Selfishly, it's been good for the Republican Party, but I think it's probably been, well, it has been bad for the country.
I agree. And it seems to have really turned when Trump got elected the first time and then the second time. And it
Well,
just
there's this irrational hatred of President Trump. Now, look, the American people, they get President Trump. They know him. They know he exists loudly. They know the president grows anxious when he has an unexpressed thought. That's refreshing in terms of transparency.
Mhm.
But when you're president of the United States, people hang on your every word. But he's not going to change. But some people just hate him irrationally. And they're the loon wing of the Democratic Party just hates President Trump. If President Trump came out in favor of breathing to live, the loon wing of the Democratic Party would start holding their breath. I mean, it's that irrational.
Yeah.
Now, all Democrats are not like that, but the bunch in control, and really the person calling the shots is a Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. She's the one that's calling the shots
I,
because her wing of the party's in control.
it's astonishing that they don't see that this is hurting them and that they don't moderate on any of this. But I guess they're convinced that if they continue to pull to the more extreme left, they'll get at least part of the way there, which is, I suppose, the goal, right? It's to get at least part of the way there.
Well, yes, and let me give you an example. 70, 80, probably 90% of Americans don't believe that that transgender women, biological males, who consider themselves to be female, should be able to participate in women's sports. I mean, it's obvious why. God made men and women different, and men are much stronger. That's just the way we're made, and they dominate. They run women's sports, and they can hurt a lot of women. The American people look at that. That doesn't mean they hate transgender people. I don't hate anybody, as I said. They just think that the cost to women's sports that we would pay to make these transgender people feel included is not worth it. They say it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they hate the transgender people. But the loon wing of the Democratic Party, they are just insistent. I have heard them argue with me that, well, if you give a biological male who claims to be female certain hormones, they lose all their
No, they
advantages
don't.
in sport. That's nonsense.
It's
I
nonsense.
mean, put down the bong. I can show you like a squillion studies that even after undergoing a sex change or taking all the hormones, a biological male still has a huge advantage against a woman in a sport. And indeed, the woman can get hurt badly. And American people look at that and go, this is craziness.
Yeah.
This is nonsense.
I mean, we've
And
seen
that's
it.
hurting the Democrats.
Yeah, it has, and like you, I appreciate that the Republican side, the conservatives, are benefiting from that. The counterbalance, maybe, to this lunatic left, seems to be this youth. This I wonder if it's real, and maybe you can shed some light on this. This movement after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, a lot of young people started to gravitate toward Turning Point USA and started to become more vocal, and they're gathering and they're showing themselves. Is that real motion in your estimation? Is that a real shift or a real sort of counterbalance to this lunacy?
Well, it is, and I think it's a good thing. I think for the longest time, many of our schools, public schools, and our colleges, still is the case, presented one point of view.
Yeah.
There was no diversity of thought, and it was the Democratic point of view. And in many cases, it was the loon wing of the Democratic Party point of view. As a result of social media and pushback from parents, there's more diversity of opinion out there. And young people, I find it refreshing, are starting to think more than themselves, for themselves. Now, we're not there yet. I mean, if you go walk around the campus at Columbia University, it's still controlled, I don't care what they say, by the radical left. But more of the young people who think about going to Columbia, and indeed who do go to Columbia, are thinking for themselves, and that's a good thing. I think everybody ought to think for themselves. And if they end up being to the right, fine. If they end up being to the left, that's fine too. That's what America's all about.
All right. By the time this drops, I'm hoping that this shutdown is over.
Me too, but I doubt it.
So much of this is talk about health care again. And I'm old enough to remember when Obamacare passed, and that was supposed to be the answer to all the woes of the healthcare industry in America. It seems to not be working. What is happening? Why didn't it work? And why do the Democrats want so much more money poured into something that isn't working?
Well, the so-called Obamacare didn't work, and any fair-minded person has to realize that. We were promised with Obamacare that health insurance would be cheaper and more accessible. I was looking this morning at a study. The average health insurance premium in America today, this is the average for a family of four, is $27,000 a year. And it's going up and has been going up for a while at 6 to 8% at that rate. And we've probably got to do something about it. But that's not really why we're in a shutdown. This shutdown, their policy shutdowns, and my Democratic friends pretend this is the policy shutdown, but it's really a political shutdown. This shutdown was demanded by the loon wing of the Democratic Party. And they went to Senator Schumer and said, if you don't shut this thing down and do what we tell you, we're going to punish you politically the rest of your natural life. And Senator Schumer's up for re-election in a few years in New York. And that's what all this is about. It's not good. I don't support it. But the request from the loon wing of the Democratic Party is so ridiculous. Before they'll let the Democrats vote to open up, they want us to repeal the health care provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill and basically give the loon wing $1.5 trillion to spend as they see fit. Well, that's not going to happen. I laughed when they gave us that proposal. As I've said before, my mother didn't raise a fool, and if she did, it was one of my brothers. I'm not going to vote for that. And they haven't backed away from it. Yeah. And so here we are. And I'm prepared to sit here. I hope we don't. But you can't. This offer is so unserious and is so absurd that it just tells me that we're going to be in a shutdown for a while.
And people are starting to really hurt. And frankly,
yeah, the military is not being. President Trump found money for the military, I think, for their first payment. But our military is not going to be paid, and our air traffic controllers. I mean, you can go down the list. I mean, this is going to get very serious because of the Dems are being so unreasonable.
I can't leave it without asking you about this relief package for Argentina.
Yeah.
Why? There are a lot of people who look at this and say, hold on a minute, this is not America first. And I tend to like what's going on in Argentina, but I can understand where people are saying, hey, what about us?
Well, the part of it that I understand, there's several parts. And there's a new one where the president's talking about importing Argentine beef to try to lower beef prices in America. I was with the president yesterday, and we talked about it briefly. He feels very strongly about it. Frankly, I don't know whether he's right or not. I haven't studied the issue. But the part that I know they're doing, Scott Besson at Treasury has set up a currency swap line. And what does that mean? We're not giving Argentina anything. What we're doing is to stabilize their currency called the peso. America is willing to trade at the normal value, dollars for pesos. So we're not giving them dollars. We're exchanging dollars for pesos. If the peso rises in value, we could make money. If it loses in value, we could lose money. And President Trump is doing that to try to stabilize the currency in Argentina. Argentina is a friend. It's one of the few countries in South America that is still democratic. Some people criticize the president, but some have not. Some think it's okay. But I want to clear up this business about we're giving them. We're not giving them anything. It's called a currency swap line, and we could actually make money off of it.
One thing we are taking away from South America is a lot of these boats that reportedly, allegedly have drugs on them. We've seen these videos of them just getting blasted out of the water. Is this legal? Is this right? Is this something that Congress needs to be involved in?
Well, I had lunch with Senator Marco Rubio, and Marco, I served in the Senate with him. Marco has studied this issue legally extensively. He's got great lawyers. And he makes a very persuasive argument. I can't do it justice about why it's perfectly illegal. That these aren't just average Joes out for a Sunday cruise in their boat. These are narco terrorists. Okay, they're killing people. They're moving drugs, and we have declared them terrorists. Number two, I asked Marco. I said, "Well, how do you know that they really are? There really are narco terrorists with drugs in these boats?" And he said, "Kennedy, trust me. Our intelligence is impeccable. I would never give the military the authority to blast one of these boats unless I was 110% certain." And I believe him. I believe him. Now, is it going to stop the flow of illegal narcotics into America? Not completely, but I'll tell you this much: boat traffic is way, way down. And if we can just dent it a little bit, we're saving American lives, particularly the lives of young people.
All right. We know you went to Vandy. We know you root for all the Louisiana teams. Does that include the Saints?
Oh, you bet. We've had a few speed bumps this year. We've won one game, but the season's early. It's getting later by the minute, but it's still early. We're clearly in a rebuilding year.
You clearly are. What is college?
But we're doing better than the New York Jets. Thank God. Thank God for the New York Jets.
Yeah, they make everybody look good. Everybody
really.
look better. Is college sports your favorite?
I like to watch a lot of sport. I like to watch college football, college basketball. I like to watch college women's basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I watch the pros. I don't have a lot of time to watch it, so I'll pick up when there's a particularly good game. My job requires a lot of reading for work. Most senators spend, I don't know how many hours, 20, 30 hours a week just reading the policy papers.
Yeah. Well, that's not a real sell for the senatorial life unless you love reading. I love reading, actually, and I dig policy, but that's interesting. Your background is fascinating to me. I'm trying to picture you at Oxford, and I think people probably loved
It took them
you.
a while to get used to me. Oxford's very different. I mean, I had my largest class was like me and two other students and a professor. So Oxford's a very unusual education system. Kids there are really, really, really smart. But I enjoyed it. It was a lot of. I mean, I like competition. I think it makes all of us better. But it took them a while to get used to my accent.
Well, you could say the same to them. I don't understand you either. So yeah. I just, you are a fascinating guy. You know that people love hearing your one-liners, and it's good to talk to you and to meet you finally. It's just an absolute honor and a privilege.
Well, if you want to understand how I got to be like I am, and if you want to understand this shutdown, I just wrote a new book called "How to Test Negative for Stupid" that explains everything and explains a little bit about me. But you will understand the shutdown if you read this book.
How to Test Negative for Stupid. You can find it
How to
wherever
Test
books are.
Negative for Stupid, and why Washington never will.
Damn, never? Like there's no hope in sight?
I wish I could be more hopeful. Well, let me put it this way. It's not going to change in Washington. The water's not going to clear up until we get the pigs out of the creek. And so far, we got a lot of pigs in the creek.
I want people to be hopeful. I don't want people to lose faith. And unfortunately, people have lost a lot of faith in institutions. Is there a way to get back to faith in government?
Sure. I mean, I'm an optimist. I'm an optimist who worries, though. I believe America's future can be better than our present. I think our future can be better than our past. But what Washington needs is a return to common sense. Common sense up here is illegal. I mean, you will look at some of the rules and the regs and the people in charge, and you'll ask yourself, how did these people make it through the birth canal? I mean, you just go, and many of them have great degrees and they're well educated, but they're high IQ stupid people. And that's what I mean when we say the water's not going to clear up until we get the pigs out of the creek. We've got to just get people back in who are more like ordinary Americans than these people.
Yeah.
These people are deeply, deeply weird. Not all of them, but many of them. And it can be changed. I don't mean to sound too pessimistic, but I don't want to minimize how hard it is.
Yeah. Well, I love the honesty. How to Test Negative for Stupid. You gotta, and when we can understand this man more fully.
Yeah, it's not a policy book. It's a story book. I tell stories and make my points about policy through those stories. I tell a lot of stories about President Trump and President Biden and Senator Grassley and Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio and Chuck Schumer. I believe it'll make you think if you read the book. It'll probably make you laugh. It could make you day drink, but
that would be good for wine sales because wine sales are down.
All the stories are true. Some of them are bizarre, but every one of them's true.
I can't wait. I'm ordering mine as the second we finish this conversation.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, he is Senator John Kennedy, the great state of Louisiana. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, Michelle.
I end every podcast saying be brave and do good. And
you're a rock star. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Take care.
Okay.
You can keep up with the Trump administration when you subscribe to the Trump Report. It's an email that brings you daily highlights from the Oval Office right to your inbox 5 days a week. Subscribe today at SalemPodcastNetwork.com/Trump.